Hey, everybody. Boy, you know what? We are not level, are we? I don't want to look like the villain on Batman here. Let me see if I can get this straightened out a little bit better. Maybe that's going to have to do. Tech support puppy is right here with me. He didn't do his job tonight, getting us ready to go. Happy Pie Day, 3.14. I haven't had any pie today. Probably the one thing that my day lacked. But I tell you what I do have is a whole lot of cool stuff to share with you. And we missed last week. So glad to be back. Glad to see you all back. I've got, let's see, got a couple of show and tell things to start off with. Let's see here. Let's start with this. So some of you, in fact, I think some of you are even signed up for these classes. Oh boy, what do we have here, guys, huh? Oh, goodness, happy birthday. How lucky. I hope you're celebrating with some pie. That happens to be one of my absolute favorite food groups is the pie group, especially the fruity pies. I love a good strawberry rhubarb. So yeah, celebrate in style, Chris. Have a piece for me. And pie and wine, even better. In fact, cheers. I've got the awake-ish mug tonight because that's kind of the way I'm feeling. And the hot tea may or may not have a little enhancement in it. You know what I mean? Anyway, where were we? Okay. Pie Day turtles. So this coming Thursday, we are starting what's turned out to be the first of at least 2 and maybe 3 learn from the experts or learn from the eccentrics sessions on turtles at Hickory Knolls. And we're going to try something different. Usually our programs there, our adult learning programs, are usually slides with maybe some visual aids and a hike. Well, we're going to try and teach that entire course with the turtles we have at Hickory Knolls, the turtles and the turtle parts that we have at Hickory Knolls. This is actually a turtle part that I have here at Casa Otto. This was a gift that I got several years ago from, of all people, my engineer brother. He's an electrical engineer. It's kind of funny. We always joke, I have no idea what he does for a living, and he has no idea of what I do for a living. But that's what makes us get along, I guess. But he several years ago had been out walking his dog. And the dog, as dogs are wont to do, found something smelly to roll in. And when he saw what it was, which was a he picked it up and he chucked it in the bushes so nobody else's dog, the stinky thing. Well, when he told me what it was, my first question was, well, what kind of turtle? And where did you throw it? I was thinking that I would maybe see if I could go track it down and find it and clean it up. Well, bless his heart. Week or so later, it was my birthday. My birthday is not Pie Day. It's not Turtle Day either, but it did result in me getting this shell for my birthday. Now, it wasn't like this when he gave it to me. It was triple bagged in garbage bags, and he didn't even bring it inside. It was sitting out on the front step. But what this is the shell of what I'm pretty sure was a dime store turtle, one of the red-eared sliders. Remember when those were sold by the hundreds or thousands or millions across the country? They were sold about yay big. In fact, that led to some legislation prohibiting the sale of turtles that small, because one, they can be kept in such crowded conditions that it fosters the spread of disease, particularly salmonella, because they're all in there, going to the bathroom on each other. But also they were small enough kids could put them in their mouths. So there was some legislation passed calling for the sale of turtles that were at least 4 inches. Shells were at least 4 inches in length before they could be sold. Well, Kurt, my brother, found this shell up at a park Northside Park, if you're familiar with the area, Northside Park in Wheaton, which was sort of like a lending library of pets. I remember I would go fishing up there quite a bit, and one of the biggest fish we'd catch would be goldfish, or carp that people had let go, but big bright orange fish that when you're done with keeping your pet, mom doesn't want to be taking care of it anymore. They say take it and give it its freedom. Well, this particular this is a female red-eared slider, was given her freedom. So I've had this shell for, I would say, getting close to 20 years now. So and if it was, say, 30 years old, 35, even 40 years old, red-eared sliders, aquatic turtles, all turtles live a long time. But say this big girl was 35, well, let's make it easy, let's say 40 years. So 1963, she was let go as a little squirt, died in 2003. This is how big they get, and it doesn't matter, if she was kept in a little tank, she would have gotten this big too. But she did die. No, she did. Red-eared sliders do have some pattern on their shell. The females tend to retain more of that pattern than the males do. And the females also get a lot bigger. So as I'm holding this up, you can probably see it's close to a foot in length. And it's got some parts missing now. I did shellac it pretty heavily. I think this was a marine varnish, what I had in the garage back then, when I tried to prepare this to keep these what we call scutes from coming off. So turtles, they're reptiles, and as such, their bodies are covered with scales. Well, their shell, it's kind of like the equivalent of our, well, it is our, like our skeleton. I don't know if I can hold this at such an angle. Yeah, you can kind of see in there. You can see the turtle's spine going down the back. You can see it inside there. Oh, that's better. And then going off from that spine are wide, flat bones, which are the equivalent of our ribs. That's what gives the turtle its structure. So that's all bone. It's pretty hard. It's what protects the turtle's organs on the inside. Well, again, because it's a reptile that's covered with scales, these scales are called scutes. Over the years, they've started to pop off. This is ridden a lot of miles. It's been in my backpack a few too many times. So it's not quite the perfect specimen that it once was, but it gives you a little bit of an idea of the makeup of the outside of a turtle's body. Now, I don't have to clarify this with you guys, but I know sometimes when we do public programs, people will say, well, can a turtle survive without its shell? They're thinking, of course, of like, say, hermit crabs that will shed. Hermit crabs use other animals' shells to cover their soft bodies. Sometimes it's not even a shell, with the state of the pollution in our ocean. Sometimes they're finding, little canisters, other like man-made things to cover their bodies in. Well, they're completely intact, and their body is whole without that protective shell or other item. So they can shed take one off and put another one on as they grow. Turtle bodies are completely encased inside the shell, and the shell grows as they do. So I thought that was kind of cool. I've got a few other shells that I will have at that program. Kay, I think you'd asked the question, will that program be recorded? I don't think so. Neither tech support puppy nor I have that capability, but I tell you, it is the sort of program that's really popular, so I wouldn't doubt that we'll do it again. We're actually holding it, let's see, it'll be this Thursday, the 16th, and it'll be same class held the following week on the 23rd. Same content and everything. We're breaking the class up. We put a max of 20 on each class so that we could accommodate as many people as possible, but again, not using slides and using our turtle pond as focus. We didn't want to have too big of a crowd gathered around it. So each class size is limited to 20. We might add a third session on March 30th if we have enough demand. So not recorded, but we're trying to make it as available as possible. If you want more information on how to register, just shoot me an email and I can get you set up with that. There is a $10 fee, but that goes to our programming budget. All right, let me put this down. And before we get into tonight's slides, I did have one other thing I wanted to share with you. Actually, it's a few things here in my pocket. I seem to have lost them. Well, maybe it'll turn up. We've talked about this tree before. I've started though changing my thinking towards it in that I think it is haunting me or possibly taunting me. It's the tree that makes this sort of a fruit or a nut. This is the fruit of a tree known as the butternut or the white walnut. So, Poker, why don't you? No, get down, buddy. This is the fruit or the nut of the black walnut. So these two nuts are they're in. Oh, well, that's whack. Couldn't find this. Poker, Poker, come here. Let me have it. Poker, come here. So I found where the other half went. Come here. Come on, puppy. Come here. Can I have it, please? Can I have it, please? Can I have it? Don't choke on it. All right. All right. So this is what the inside looks like. He didn't crack it open. This was just a half a nut to begin with. But you can see in comparison, so they're both the genus Juglans or Juglans, Juglans. But our black walnut is extremely common in this area. And as such, we find these nuts everywhere. This is one that I actually had in my supplies of teaching about rodents. You can see a small little critter, probably a vole, chewed this one open in several places. The bigger the holes that are chewed open, usually the bigger the animal. This was just chewed open on the end. Side by side, black walnut, white walnut, very common, very rare actually in our area. The white walnut, aka butternut, is prone to a disease, a canker. I believe it's fungal, spread by fungus, a fungus. We'll go with that for now. We'll just call it a canker disease that's deadly to the tree. Most trees do not survive to the point where they can produce fruit. They die when their diameter is maybe 6, 8, 10 inches, not big enough to reproduce. Well, I started finding these first around my yard. Several years ago. In fact, I found one on the windowsill of my lower level. I found one where the garage door keypad is, not on the keypad, but where I stand to punch the code in. And when you look at these, you kind of get the impression of, like, say, a peach pit. The surface is really rough. The shape is oblong. I don't know where this tree is. Now, I found this one just last week. Yeah, maybe a week and a half ago at this point. And it's back up in the forefront of my mind again. I don't know where this tree is, but it's big enough to produce fruit. I've looked where I tend to find these is in a community park here, or a little 1 block square park called Baker Field Park, just a couple of blocks from my house. I've asked our arborist if perhaps one of those trees, a white walnut, he said no. So I think it must be in someone's yard. I'm gonna continue the hunt. I'm determined to someday find this. In my mind, this white walnut has become a white whale. You know, Captain Ahab had his great white whale. I've got this great white walnut. I'm determined to find out what it is, where it is. And once I do, I'll be sure and let you know. Okay, with that, I'm going to put these somewhere where they won't get chewed on, right, buddy? And let's see, let's launch to some slides. Oh. Excuse me, Boker. Oh, all right, let's start with this picture that Miss Bonnie sent us. This was the first one that I believe came in over the weekend. Now Bonnie lives in a rural area and on a farm, considered a property, should we say, 50 acres, I believe, and besides lots of area that is being restored to prairie and to woods. There's a nice wetland there. There's also a barn that's got some nice cozy hay, and a little a border that comes and goes. So the opossum was there over the weekend, then it was gone for a couple of days, and now it's back again. Now, I'm not lucky enough to have a barn or an opossum like this, or chickens, which is something else Bonnie also has. Some of those chickens have turned up dead recently, and some people have said, yep, possums kill chickens, especially if they're sitting on a nest. I would love to know more about this. If any of you have ever had experiences like that before. I'm picturing, an opossum's general build. They've got a lot of teeth. They've got 50 teeth, which is more than any other mammal here in North America. They're great climbers, but their little front paws are not really well suited to grabbing things. They're not high up off the ground like, say, a coyote. Well, not that a coyote is a giant or anything, but say coyote versus chicken, you can see that happening. You can also picture how a bird of prey, a hawk or an owl, might come in and take out a chicken. But opossums put up a lot of puffing and bluffing. If you or someone has had a possum attack, if you've actually seen one, killing a chicken, I would love to know more about it. Bonnie, my condolences on your chickens, but we're gonna maybe pick up this story again in a few weeks. Bonnie is also cultivating some pawpaws, and there is a method. I actually read quite a bit about it when we found pawpaws out at Richard Young Forest Preserve in Yorkville, a few years ago. Pawpaws are not pollinated by traditional quote unquote pollinators, our bees, our butterflies. They actually attract things that are drawn to more meaty, decomposing things. The pawpaw flowers are maroon in color, and there are some growers of pawpaws that will put carcasses and things like that around where their pawpaws are. So they're drawing in the beetles, they're drawing in the flies, the things that would then not only be attracted to the dead things, but also to the maroon and somewhat odoriferous flowers of the pawpaw. So story isn't done yet, but I thought this was kind of cool. I know all the opossums in St. Charles would probably love to look into a luxurious pile of hay like that to get insulated against and to stay warm with. Opossum, we've talked about this before, their coat of fur, you know, they can grow a little bit more fur in the wintertime, but what they have a hard time doing is storing a lot of fat, the insulated fat that saves a lot of our other mammals when the temperatures get cold. So anytime they can find something like this, they're going to be all in terms of keeping themselves warm. I guess another question we have is this just a single opossum, or if this is maybe a mommy to be? It is that time of year. So Bonnie, I know you'll keep us posted on that. And thanks for sharing those pictures. So now we're going to go. I really tried, guys, to get a decent shot of this. I guess you'd call it a small tree. This is over at Delnor Woods. When you see it in person, or one like it, you would be struck by the branching structure. I'm going to try and point it out here. Let's zoom in just a little bit. You can see how the branches on this small tree come out at almost a right angle to the main stalks, and they're spaced quite a bit apart as you go up the tree like this and like this. You can also tell if you've ever done any restoration work days in this area, you're probably familiar with the practice of putting tree tape on things you want to save. This tree is growing at Delnor Woods, and you can see behind it, the woods are pretty clear. Our restoration team has been doing a lot of work out there, getting rid of the understory of invasive plants that pervades over there at Delnor Woods. But there are things that we want to save, and this is one of them. This is a Pagoda Dogwood. It's kind of cool. It's unique in the Cornus genus, which is what dogwood belongs to. This is the full name for this tree is Cornus alternifolia, which means alternifolia, alternating leaves. I know we've talked before about how trees can have either alternate branching structures, or they can have opposite branches. Most dogwoods are opposite. There's the saying mad horse, buck, dog I'm sorry, mad horse, buck, the D is already in there. Maple, ash, dogwood for mad, and then horse chestnut for horse, and buck for buckeye. Mad horse, buck refers to all the trees slash large shrubs in our area that have alternating I'm sorry, opposite branches. But this one bucks the trend. This is an alternate branching dogwood. It gets white blossoms. It's actually quite attractive in the springtime, and its fruits, which are dark, they grow on a reddish stem. So it can be a very attractive plant if you want to put it in a landscape setting. Now here I found this photo online. This kind of gives you a better sense. When it's grown as a specimen tree like this, you can really appreciate that pagoda-like structure of the Pagoda Dogwood. This is it in flower, those white blossoms. It was just kind of a nice thing to run into, and it's conveniently located. If you're local and you want to take a walk at Delnor Woods, this is on the north side of the asphalt path that goes through the interior of the woods there. So it's the one that makes the loop off of the main trail in the park. See if you can find it. It's a nice little treasure sticking out, and it's very close to the path too. Now, so I was at Delnor Woods. I was actually setting out the signs for our Spring Ephemerals project, which we talked about last time. It started on March 1st. And I was really taken by the amount of worm activity Now this is outside of the woods proper. This is in a lawn area that's near the front pond at Delnor Woods. Let's zoom in here. Look at what these worms have been up to. That is a lot of worm activity in this somewhat sparsely covered area of grass. All of these little mounds here are what we call worm casts. That is, it's basically worm poop. And it's what they produce is they are digesting organic materials. I tried to zoom in on one. I don't think I did a real good job. This new phone I have, I'm still getting used to some of the settings. It does have a macro setting, but clearly I wasn't using it, or wasn't using it properly when I tried to take this picture. But this is what a worm expels as it feeds on decomposing leaves. A lot of times we look at worms as being helpful, but keep in mind that's in a garden setting. So we're looking at an artificial or a man-made setting where worms help aerate the soil. They're great in your gardens. These vermicasts are quite nutritious, but when there's that many worms near a woodland area, things can start to get a little wonky. Because worms, so most of the worm species we see in this area are introduced species. They've come from Europe, they've come from Asia. A lot of them we just refer to as Eurasian. There's also the Lumbricus species, the Canadian crawlers that were used as fish bait. A lot of these some came accidentally, some came on purpose. There's just kind of this mishmash of introduced worm species in the area. And in a woodland setting that over thousands of years co-evolved with the decomposers down on the woodland floor to break down leaves at a certain rate of speed, break down shed bark and branches and things like that. At a kind of a slow but acceptable rate for the other species that are living in the woods. When you introduce something like a worm that can power through a bunch of leaves in a relatively short period of time, it can make some of those nutrients less available to the other species that are living in the woods and that rely on them. I remember, gosh, this was several years ago. This was a long time ago. We're gonna several, again, 20 years ago. I was out at the Laredo Taft campus of Northern Illinois University. I was out there for a class, and it was Laredo Taft campus is near the town of Oregon, Illinois. I guess it's maybe the address is actually Oregon. It's along the Rock River, and it's a wooded setting, and there's some dormitory type accommodations there. Well, I was walking back to my room after an evening class. It was then dark out. It was a warm night. We'd had a little bit of rain, and it was very quiet. And the sky was, it was dark out. There wasn't a lot of human activity around. Well, I heard this noise, and it sounded kind of like Rice Krispies, kind of a faint crackling sound. And I wasn't exactly sure what it was, other than that it was coming from below. It was down on the ground somewhere. So I went over by one of the lights that line the pathway to the dorms. Didn't really line, they were pretty far apart. There was a lot of dark space in between. But I looked in the halo of light, and I could see the leaves on the ground were moving. And what was happening was these big worms, I'm guessing they were Canadian and night crawlers, they come up out of their burrows at night, and they would wrap their bodies around a leaf, and they would pull it down into a hole. So that was pretty cool. It was a great lesson in seeing how what would be used as what made up a lot of the composition of the woodland floor there, was being pulled down and then eaten and digested and then put back out as castings there in the woods. But it was very eye-opening to see the impact that worm species can have on a woodland floor like that. Now, getting back to Delnor Woods. So the history of that property, it did belong to a local family, one of the very influential families here in St. Charles, and they sold it to the Park District. The first 20, I think it was 23 acres, and then we've since added another 20 some acres to what we call Delnor Woods Park. The land before the Park District acquired it was used. Some of it was open space, some of it was a golf course. It had a lot of impacts over time. There were a lot of, we still find things in the woods that were just kind of cast aside. Nursery containers that had held trees. Sometimes there's even still trees in them. There's been a lot of things that have been introduced to Delnor Woods. And one of them are these guys. This is a hammerhead worm that we found during, it was during a field trip several years ago. And I've gone back a few times to see if I can find them again, and I haven't. But I'm thinking if we were lucky enough to find one, that there's probably more there. This is another worm that's been introduced to this country. I believe this is an Asian type of creature. Guess what it feeds on? It eats earthworms. So even though it's not a native species, it's doing its job to help control another introduced species, the earthworms that are feeding on the nutrients in the soil. Now I'm going to see if I can get, I don't know if I can, I might have to stop the share here for a second. I had pulled up a video just as another reminder of what we have working for us, or working against those introduced earthworm species at Delnor Woods. Let me see if I can get this to play. So this, one time I had gone to look for, that's weird, it doesn't want to play. I had gone to look for no, I'd gone to look for hammerhead worms at Delnor Woods, and instead, so I was rolling over logs. This was in April of 2021. Yeah, oh gosh, I got some kind of glitch here. All right, let me try closing that. I'm going to try one more time. What I want to show you is what was underneath the log that I rolled, and what it was feeding on. So hold on, try one more time. If not, I'm just going to have to describe it to you, and that won't be really as entertaining. Yeah, it's weird. So instead of I'm double clicking on the video, but instead of the video opening up, it's opening up my audio player, not the video player. Well, anyway, what I found was a firefly larva. We may have looked at that footage back in 2021 when I found it. But firefly larvae are predators, and they love to eat earthworms. So that is one creature or group of creatures that is helping to keep some of those earthworms, some of that earthworm population under control. Boy, you know, we could we could listen to bird sounds, we could listen to frog sounds, but I just can't get this video to play. All right, not gonna worry about it. We'll move on. Let's go back. Let's go back to our slides here. All right, moving right along. So I got this image here, and it was from our friend Laura, who got it from her son Dylan. And this image, which actually I found that the the message that she sent before I found the picture, because our spam filter is kind of grabby sometimes, and when a attachment comes in, it doesn't always like that, and it throws it into the spam folder. So anyway, I found this message first. It says, "Hi Pam, last night Dylan showed me photos that he took a while ago because one of us had brought up the subject of spiders. He sent the photos to me because I wanted to know what it was. Dylan and his wife were amazed by the spider's large size and the fact that it carried its offspring. I thought you might know without looking it up. Maybe you could help us." So large spider that carries its young on its back. In this area, we only have one group of spiders. It's a big group of spiders. It's the Lycosidae. It's the wolf spiders. And this is the picture. And it doesn't give us a lot of detail. We probably won't get beyond family in how to identify this, because there's, I think, 47 types of wolf spiders, species of wolf spiders in Illinois. But look at this. This is pretty good size. And I loved the way the flash on Dylan's camera caught the eye shine of the spider and the eye shine of some of her babies. So you can't really see the little buggers there. But this is the wolf spiders are known for being very protective of their young. So this whole cycle starts with when the female produces her egg sac, she doesn't leave it somewhere. She actually keeps it attached to the rear of her body via some silk around her spinnerets. And then when it's time for those young to hatch, they kick through, chew through that, break through the silk, and they crawl up on mom's back, and they ride around for not terribly long. I think they might go through one molt, and then they disperse. It wouldn't pay to have that many things that eat other things all together, because they would just end up eating each other. So they do disperse after a few days. But it is, when you find a spider that's carrying her family around on her back, you know that at least you found a type of wolf spider. And then from there, it takes a little bit more sorting out to look at size and markings and other structures to make a firm diagnosis. In fact, sometimes you have to get so up close and personal that you really can't get down to species. You're just going to have to settle for a genus. But I thought that was kind of a cool picture that she'd sent. And that reminded me that I'd taken some spider pictures myself. Here I was trying to get out of the house the other day, and I walked out of the bathroom, and I looked up, and I thought, oh, I've got a new tenant here. This is another sac spider. Before, I think I tried to show you a sac spider, and it wasn't living anymore. This one got so fed up with me taking flash pictures of it that when I came home from work that night, it had moved on. But yellow sac spiders, they're cosmopolitan species. They tend to hide out so much in things that people move around, furniture and things like that, that this spider has moved all over the globe. But it's very common in houses around here because we give it what it needs. There's shelter and plenty of food in the average house. But you can see this is how they get their name. They spin themselves a little sack when they're resting. And then I believe they consume, don't quote me on that, but I want to say they'll consume the silk and then go on their way, kind of like they fold their tent up and then they move on. I tried to get some better pictures of it. This is from a slightly different angle. We can zoom in here too, and you can see it's not anything that's gonna protect it. It doesn't even really hide the spider very well, but it does give it a place to retreat to during the day. I think I had one more angle here. Let's see. Yeah. Let's zoom in again. So it's what we call the pedipalps are kind of folded up here by the head. If those were greatly enlarged, we know that was a male, because that's where he carries his reproductive organs, but I'm pretty sure this was a female that was tucked up there. I did see a male actually not too long ago in the same general vicinity. So maybe we're gonna have more sac spiders here. That'd be fun. But it is something, they're a spider that, and we may have talked about this now that I'm thinking about it. We may have talked about these guys more in depth a few weeks ago. They've got a reputation. They can bite. They're one of the few spiders that has mouth parts that can pierce human skin, but it's not unless you happen to have a immune system that reacts badly to their sort of venom. That's not a serious sort of bite. It's not on the level of, say, a recluse or a black widow, which again, sometimes those stories are exaggerated too, because it's oftentimes a secondary infection that takes over when those spiders do their biting. Anyway, keep your eyes open in your own houses. See if you've got sac spiders too. They're pretty cool. So you might remember a few weeks ago, I tried to show you the orange wood of the buckthorn, and it just didn't work on the little webcam here. So I did the next best thing. When I was out on a nerd walk a couple of weeks ago, I took pictures in the same spot where I'd picked up that piece of orange buckthorn. So the wood of the buckthorn tree, and we're talking here about the European buckthorn, it's got a bright orange color to it. It does fade a little bit over time. I know some woodworkers that have tried to make things with it. It's a strong wood. It's got a pretty grain to it, even if the orange color dissipates. But if you're looking at some shrubs or trees in your yard, and you're not sure if they are buckthorn, and you want to take a peek, you don't want to get your field guides out or anything, you can peel back some of the bark, and if you see orange, then you know that's what you're looking at. Now these pictures, this is over at Fabian Forest Preserve. This is on the east side, so this is actually looking west from the Fox River Trail, the East Fox River Trail, and it goes through Fabian. And the Forest Preserve has taken a lot of flack recently for this activity that's gone on, because to people who don't understand how woodland restoration works, they look at that as destruction. And even people who do understand it sometimes say this is too much, too fast, you're destroying habitat for nesting birds. There is a hit that occurs early on in the restoration when this quantity of material is removed. There is going to be a change, but this is to ultimately make things better. I go through this here at the house when I'm cleaning. It starts off like a little messy or a little cluttered, and then it gets really bad as I just start pulling everything out to just reorganize, whether it's filing or throwing stuff away, whatever. But it gets worse, but then it gets better, and that's the stage that we're at now with the woods there at Fabian. It looks like a bomb went off, but it is all aimed at getting rid of those invasive species that have pervaded there for decades. They've prevented the sunlight from reaching the woodland floor. As that material starts to decompose, as the sunlight comes down, we're going to see a couple different things. We're going to see the return of woodland wildflowers, and we're also going to start to see the regeneration of those oaks that grow there. Acorns, they need a lot of sunlight in order to be able to germinate and survive. And if it's too shady, that's not going to happen. These oak trees, well, they live a long time. Oak trees can live 300, 400 years sometimes, but they are eventually going to die. And if we don't get some new ones started, the woods there is going to suffer. So it looks like they've mulched it with orange, and well, they basically they have, but it's not a decorative mulch that they bought. That's just what buckthorn looks like when it's all chopped up. Now, okay, we're gonna wrap up here with a little bit of insight. Well, that's weird. You know, I thought, yeah, I guess we are up to that point. So this is a place that I visited last week. I guess we'll eventually get to the logo. I thought I'd put that in first, but it's a place called Poised for Success. And it's a charitable organization over in Lombard, Illinois. And what they do is they collect professional and business casual clothing for women who are re-entering the workforce or entering it for the first time. This is a place that works solely on donations, and they are looking for wasn't me. Our old boy Joe has joined us. They're looking for clothing by season. So right now they are collecting donations for spring and summer wear. So a couple weeks ago at the Park District, we held a clothing drive. It actually had two different parts to it. One was business clothing for women. And then we also collected business clothing for men. And then actually we had a third component then too. We wanted to see if we could help divert things from a landfill. So clothing like this, you know, if it wasn't donated to a place like Poised for Success, it would probably go to, say, a Goodwill or a Salvation Army, and that's great. But there's also things in our closets that really shouldn't be donated. They're stained. They've got missing buttons, zippers don't work anymore. They're stained, torn. Well, we collected those too. We filled up an entire Park District van, and then we headed over to Poised for Success. I was going to show you guys all about what they have, but first thing we meet when we go in there, besides the woman Gail who runs the place, we met. This is little Maddie. And she was just absolutely adorable. So she accompanied us as we were unloading the van and bringing things in. But this is the clothing that is yet to be sorted and displayed. So you come in, it's all very discreet. People you actually have to have an appointment to donate there as well, but you need an appointment to go in and shop. And people, women from all walks can come in and look through the clothing here. This is where, in this first area here, this is where the clothing is dropped off. There's also accessories, as Maddie was showing us here. That we brought the clothing in, and we're given a little tour. This is a really tiny little storefront. She's operating right now at about 1,500 square feet. In fact, the other reason I wanted to bring this up is that the Poised for Success organization is looking for a larger space. If anybody has any connections in the western suburbs here of property owners who would be willing to cut a deal to a charitable organization like this, they would very much like to get into a larger space. Wow. Because they've got a lot of nice things. This is the clothing was nice. The dog was really cool. But they've got, in addition to suits and other workwear, they've got shoes, they've got purses, belts, lots and lots of accessories. And it's all free to women in need. Now, besides that, let me get the cursor out of the way. They are also collecting other non-wearable things, because they want to make this it's a destination, much like you would go to a department store. So they want to wrap the clothing up in unused in white tissue paper. they want to also put it in nice, as they describe, new or pristine condition store shopping bags. So that's another thing. If you want to help this organization out, and you maybe like my closet, I didn't really have anything that can be considered even business casual, not for, most businesses anyway, but shopping bags, because they want the women that leave the store to feel like they've been treated very professionally, and they've had a pleasant shopping experience. They don't want to have them be feeling bad that they got something for free. So lots and lots of things here that they could use. It is in Lombard. Their website is poisedforsuccess.org. Boy, I guess I don't know what happened to the logo. Poisedforsuccess.org. You can look them up if you'd like more information, or if you perhaps know of some storefront space that might be looking for a tenant that again, she's got, right now they're in a 1,500 square foot space, and she'd like to double that to 3,000, because there is quite a great need for this sort of a shopping experience. So Poised for Success website is poisedforsuccess.org. Now, I mentioned we did collect a lot of other things, sweaters with stains, sweatshirts that are torn, shirts with missing buttons, things that are just, worn out. That's a stream of material that often ends up in the landfill. And what we did was we collected all of that too. Now that suit there in the front and those clothes on hangers, those were things that were donated to these professional organizations. But all those garbage bags that were in the van, those went to the Kane County Recycling Center. I went to the one that's over on Fabian Parkway. So actually not too far from where all of that buckthorn was removed from Fabian East Forest Preserve. This is, if you're local here, you might recall when the sheriff's office used to be on Fabian, just a little bit east of Route 25. This is also the recycling center that they take electronics. There's often a fee when you drop off those sorts of things. There is a fee, but they do textile recycling as well. And I'll say there were quite a few things that we dropped off that really weren't completely worn out. But what happens when it leaves there? There's an organization in Batavia that comes in, and they go through all of these bags and they sort things out. If it's wearable, again, it goes to a place where it can be resold. If it's not wearable, it can be shredded. It can be made into insulation. It can be made into packing material. There's a lot of uses for textiles that I know 10, 15 years ago, there were, I think that was the last time I cleaned my closet out, but you can only use so many rags around your house, and I did end up throwing things away. So this is a neat resource. It doesn't cost anything. They're there Monday through Friday, and the guy even unloads your vehicle for you. So it's a really convenient place to drop these things off, and you don't have to worry about it going to waste. The company that sorts through all these things makes sure that the clothing items, or the textile items, I should say, go to the proper place. Now we dropped off shoes. There was a bedspread. There was some curtain ties. There are lots of things. As long as it's considered a textile, they can find a use for it. So I just wanted to pass that along, because it was something that was, I don't know, several hundred pounds of material that we were able to collect from. This was just employees of the park district. I think if we had opened it to the public, we would have had to get several vehicles in order to be able to haul it. We do plan to do another employee clothing drive this fall, again for Poised for Success, taking fall and winter items to their storefront. So with that, I'm going to stop the share and come back here. We've got a couple chats here to address before we tonight.
Hey, Pam, muskrats.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Laura. Oh God, I would have done it again. Oh, you know, okay, let me see if I can, because
Next time, it's okay.
well, I was having so Laura is kindly reminding me of what I totally forgot when we met last time, which was 2 weeks ago. Let me just see if I can get it to play. You know what, let me, you know, maybe it'll play differently if I go here. So Kate and her dog, was it just you and Laura, was it just you and Kate?
Yeah.
This was some footage from Pearson Creek, right? Or
Yeah,
actually
Pearson Creek
it
Fence.
was the Fox River at Pearson Creek,
Right. Right.
And it was just all kinds of busyness on the part of the local muskrat. Did you say you saw 4 of them? Okay, this is
Yes.
good. All right, so I'm gonna hop over here again. We're gonna do another screen share. So this, luckily, Kate sent this as a Google file, so it's not whatever's going on with. I'm gonna have to probably restart my computer to get my saved videos to play. But here, let's go back and we'll do another screen share. And you said, Laura, did you say 4?
4, yeah.
4.
We saw what appeared to be 2 adults and then 2 youngsters.
Cool. All right. Let's make this full screen. They're motoring along, using their tails to propel themselves. Can you see this? I love how you can see the tail. Look at that. Oh, yeah. See you later, alligator. Thank you. Let's watch it again. So, you know, you see, so along the Fox River, you can see mink swimming, you can see beaver swimming, you can see muskrats swimming. Someday, let's hope we can see otter swimming, but it can be really hard to tell who's who. As they're like, you know, when the video starts out, you see there's clearly something powering along. But as it gets closer, we can see that long muskrat tail swishing behind. That's how they propel themselves. And down. So Laura, was this on the overlook?
Yeah, that was on the overlook. Kate and I went out there. We were looking for skunk cabbage, of course. And we went on the overlook and it was very flooded, really flooded area. And we saw one, but we got startled and so it got startled. So we got real quiet and we thought maybe we'd see another one. And we were being very still. And that one, it was coming up toward the overlook there. And it did not see us. With that, we were so excited to get to see its tail and everything. It came up close and at the last minute it saw us and that's when it dove. But behind it, you know, off in, you know, kind of the wetland area there, we could see 2 what I think were youngsters. I think we saw the 2 adults and the 2 youngsters, but they never came up toward us.
Okay.
But I'm not sure. It was hard to see their size, the other 2 back there.
Well, you know, I may have led you guys astray in the past talking about muskrats. I always thought they were like beavers and that they only had 1 litter a year, and that the little offspring, I don't know if they're called kits the way baby beavers, I will just call them baby muskrats. I thought they stayed with the parents then for a full year before they dispersed in the spring, because springtime is when we always see a bunch of muskrats run over by, you know, a lot of muskrats disperse in springtime, but and get run over. But I think that is it can be related to breeding activity as much as it is dispersal. But it is a busy time, as you saw. So you might have been seeing the parents that did overwinter with, or the kids that did overwinter with the parents getting, ready to get launched and move out on their own. But
It was so cool to see it get so close to us at the overlook and then just suddenly realize, and like you saw in the video, it's just a flash and it's gone.
yeah,
It was
then
fun.
he kind of gave you a little poof.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Very cool. And thank you, Laura, for reminding me, because I would have
You told me to say muskrat.
yes, and it
I did. Thanks, Pam.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. Thank Kate too. The great bit of footage there. Let's see, we got some other things here. Let's see. Seems like the opossum would just go for the chicken eggs. Yeah, that's what I would think too, Jerry. I guess the only way we can answer this, Bonnie, is to have you do some more research for us and see what happens with the opossums. Or the opossum. Boy, you got a tall order. You got lots of things that you have to report back to the group on, but we'll see. I'll see if I can do a little more research too on the predatory nature of opossums. May have been a fox, had fortunate experiences with that too. Yeah, well, and Bonnie's chickens have also been visited by a mink, if I recall correctly. Now, mink, and we did text a little bit about this, that mink, they're such efficient predators that they can be choosy. They can just pick out the best parts and leave the rest behind. Sometimes they'll just chew off the head and leave the whole carcass behind. So yeah, and then Bonnie also found a skunk when she was out doing her chores. So lots and lots of activity there at the Bonnie barn. Good point. I love, Laura, how you always find the optimistic side of things. The robins at Delnor are very happy. I saw a lot of robins today. Where was I? And I'm I was driving on 7th Avenue here in St. Charles, and there's that area the city has created. They call it an arboretum near the old cemetery on 7th Avenue. And there must have been 35, 40, or I was trying to count and drive at the same time, which isn't a good thing. But a lot of robins were out in that sunny area today, probably feasting on worms and other things too. And then while it's so the textile drop-offs, I'm going to do another screen share here. King County has a really nice website here. It's well, if you just type in to your search engine King County Recycles, that will take you to a page where you can find out how to recycle just about anything. But they do throughout the county operate a number of recycling centers. The one I went to is this one in Batavia, this one right here on Fabian Parkway. 517 East Fabian. It's just east of Route 25 on the north side of Fabian. So the old sheriff's office that was there, or apparently juvenile justice, I was calling it the wrong thing, that's gone now, but they've got a shipping container that is kind of like an office that the people who work there come out of. And then there's another shipping container that I think they load up with all the things that they collect. But there are other ones throughout the county. There's one in Aurora. Now you'll notice that they have different hours for these different stations. So you might just want to check the website if you've got things to recycle. And the list of what these things can accept vary too. They also do recycling events. I know they do one on Randall Road at the county clerk's office, the old Montgomery Ward building on Randall. It's between Prairie and Oak Street in St. Charles. And they will accept a lot of the same items there that they do at these permanent recycling centers. My experience at the pop-up recycling events is that it might be more convenient location wise, but a lot of times there's a line of people waiting to drop stuff off. So keep that in mind as well. All right, let's stop that share. And yes, they make insulation out of denim, but they said that they can also use other materials as well. But they a lot of the stuff that's unwearable is turned into other material, other items. It doesn't matter if it's stained or broken. And Ralph, the overlook is at Fearson Creek Fen. So when you walk out, if you take the boardwalk path south through the park, if you then look to the east, there's an overlook that actually extends out a short distance over the Fox River. And when it's flooded like it was when Laura and Kate were there, it's you're pretty much surrounded by water. The river is pretty high right now between the rains and the melting snow we've had. Things are rushing along pretty good, but that I think is what we had for tonight. So nobody else has anything else for the group. We'll sign off for now, and we'll gather again next Tuesday. All right. Happy Pi Day. Happy rest of your week, everybody. Take care.
Thanks, Pam. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you, Pam.
Happy Pi Day.
Happy Pi Day.
Happy Pi Day. Absolutely.